right. So the number one complaint from solopreneurs using AI, and I've heard this over and over, it sounds generic, like a press release from a company that does not know you, your clients, or the way you actually speak. That is not a prompting problem. It's a structural one, and there is a fix that takes 20 minutes to build once and works every session after that. Yeah, so I created today's video because this is something that I wanted to do because it's something that I've noticed, and I kind of just, I guess you could say I jimmy rig this along the way, but it would be nice to have some structural kind of baseline. So we're going to give you a prompt on how you can fix this, but we're also going to discuss it a little bit so that you know exactly why, what, how. Um, so let's get into it. So AI does not sound like you because it does not know you. Not because it lacks the capacity, because it lacks the data. Every AI conversation begins with a blank context window. The tool has no idea if you are a solopreneur, a company of 200, a coach whose clients are all women in their 50s rebuilding after a career pivot, or a consultant who hates corporate jargon and writes the way they talk. So without that information, AI defaults to the median, the statistical average of everything it has ever been trained on. Remember that. It imagine, it has to have kind of a generalized form. It's with writing. Like a lot of people say, oh, AI can't write. You can always tell it's AI. And I always call bullshit on that. I'm like, if you know how to prompt AI and it understands your style, this and that, you can't tell it's AI. And it writes better than 99% of people out there. Yes, there's some very, very talented writers that just love to write, but most people do not. Yeah, it's the reality. The result is output that sounds like everyone and no one at the same time. 73% of marketers using AI say maintaining brand voice is their number one challenge. 60% are worried AI will damage their brand reputation because of the generic output it produces without specific context. The problem has a name in the technical literature: context engineering. It's a new term that I've never heard of, AI context engineering. The practice of deliberately structuring the information you hand AI at the start of a session so the output reflects your specific reality rather than the statistical average. Yeah, so, AI is getting better, and a lot of things that people would say AI can't do, it's not very good. A month, 2, 3 months later, they have a couple updates, and then it gets better. So right now it is a little clunky in that you have to build these kind of things. Like you have to build certain prompts, and you have to still organize things in a way that you can kind of finesse AI to do what you want it to do. But as we're getting further, AI is starting to kind of understand this and know to do it and even recommend it and do it for you. We're seeing that with Claude. Um, it's working. It's getting better and better. So anyways, let's move on. The business brain doc is the fix. One document, about 400 words, 6 sections that you paste into Claude or ChatGPT at the start of every work session. See, like, you shouldn't have to do this, but like this kind of a thing still is necessary. But at some point, and we're already starting to see signs of this where like ChatGPT kind of knows what you're interested in, and it'll start to kind of sprinkle your style, your interest into like things that you're doing. But then sometimes that becomes a problem because you're like, stop doing that. We're working on something totally different. I don't want you to bring elements from a conversation that has nothing to do with this and start adding that, to my images and stuff, because it'll do weird things like that. Right, so you build this once. You update it when something changes. Every output after that starts from your context instead of from zero. But isn't that kind of dumb that you got to copy and paste something at the beginning before you do it? But I mean, yes, eventually, they're going. I always say that the intelligence is there. The problem is common sense and some form of memory system that just works a lot better. I think if there was a big project that focused on just memory structure, you would end up with AGI basically. I mean, it's basically there. I mean, you can feel the intelligence. Let's see. Okay, section 1. So we're talking about, the sections of this doc. Who you are and what you do. 2 or 3 sentences written plainly, no jargon. What you actually do, for whom, and what result you help them get. Section 2. Who your clients are. Hold on. Let's see. I think I might have skipped over. Right. Yeah, 73% of marketers using AI say maintaining brand voice. Yeah, we already went through this, so I think I am here. All right, so we were, oh, that's what confused me. All right. So section 1, who you are and what you do. 2 or 3 sentences written plainly, no jargon, what you actually do, for whom, and what result you help them get. All right, that's section 1. Section 2, who your clients are. Not names, archetypes, age, situation, fear, goal. The more specific, the more useful. AI cannot write to a person it has never been told about. Section 3, what your voice sounds like. And here is the specific instruction that most people miss. Do not describe your voice. Write in it. Give AI 2 or 3 sentences that sound exactly like you. Not a list of adjacent, like warm or direct or conversational. Actual sentences written the way you write them. Section 4, what you never say. The words, phrases, and tones that are off-brand for you. The ones AI tends to reach for automatically. Dynamic, robust, game changer, leverage, supercharge that you would cut on sight. Section 5, your current top priorities. The 2 or 3 things you are working on right now. This changes quarterly. Update it when it does. Section 6, your hard constraints. What AI always needs to know regardless of task. Budget reality. Your audience's comfort with technology. What you will not do. What you have already tried. Actionable skill, right? A 1-page document, 6 sections, about 400 words that you paste into every new AI session. Section 1, recap. Who you are. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the description. I will copy and paste in the description of this video. So if you want to just basically create this prompt and create one of these, I think you can expand a little bit on this. I think it takes more than a couple sentences for AI to know how you write and what you do not say. But the idea is there, right? You just expand on it. But here's the thing. It's hard to have somebody create something like this one-off. It's kind of like you have to fine-tune it over time. You have to kind of go, oh, it said that. I got to go back into my one-pager and add that in there. Add that. I forgot. It always does that. It defaults to that. All right, so the template is in the so the template I'm just going to put this in the description, but there will be, eventually I'll probably have a resource. So for every video I do, I'm trying to create a prompt that people can use that kind of fixes one specific thing. So in the last video, we just started this where we created a prompt that helped you audit your subscriptions to find out if you're paying for subscriptions that you don't need that AI could just do for you because you're already paying for an AI subscription. And there's a lot of things that something like Claude can do that you don't even realize. So that one's for us. Also gives you a chance to go through all your subscriptions and see what am I double paying or triple paying kind of a thing. So each video moving forward, I'm going to put some sort of a prompt that you can build on and kind of work through specifically for solopreneurs, small businesses, and people that are just kind of digging into AI and are just getting started. So anyways, yeah, you just open it up, complete each section, save your version, and from that point, paste the text at the start of every new AI chat. Not as an attachment, paste it directly. Most AI tools give you a context window of 200,000 characters or more. Your business brain doc uses roughly 400 words of that. The rest is available for the actual work. I could see that being 600 to 800 words. When priorities shift, and they will, update section 5. When you take on a new client type, update section 2. The BBD is not a static document. It is a living brief. Think of it, like I said, you just refine it, right? Think of it as the instruction you would give a brilliant freelancer on their first day, except you only have to write it once. You know, this reminds me of when I used to hire virtual assistants from the Philippines. And I watched a ton of videos because I wanted to take advantage of it because it was so intriguing. I mean, this is about 15 years ago. And there was YouTube channels, maybe 15, 12 years ago, that had started up on this topic. And they spent most of their time explaining how important it is to create a system and to train your virtual assistants, and don't expect your virtual assistants from the Philippines to be jacks of all trade. Understand that you specifically look for people that are good at one or two things and let them focus on that. And the most important thing is you have to train them, and expect to train them for, like, back then they were like, you need to be with them, train them for like sometimes as long as 2 weeks to a month. And that would frustrate people because you're like, the reason why I hired a virtual assistant is so I could free up my time, and now you're telling me I got to work extra time showing somebody how to do stuff that just seems so much easier to just do myself, right? However, if you train them properly over a 2 week to a month and they fully understand their tasks and what their focus is, then they do take your work and they make your life a lot easier. And then next thing you know, you're hiring 2, 3 of them. And then they really start to help you free up your time and save a ton of money. Because back then, full-time, we're talking 15 years ago, full-time, you could get a full-time, like 40 hours a week, Filipino college graduate for like $500-600 a month. So you just couldn't do that in the U.S. in a lot of different places, and they took their job a lot more serious because that actually was really good money for them. Whereas like nurses and like landscapers, local, stuff like that, they were getting paid like $200 a month. So it was like you were giving them a triple raise. And my point is AI feels the same way, but the difference is you don't need to spend 2 weeks training AI. You just need to spend a couple hours thinking about it, fine tuning it, and maybe once a week you just go in and you fine tune your doc. So keep that in mind. And when you do that, you'll start to really like AI, and you'll start to feel like it is an extension of you. All right. So when AI sounds like you, it is super useful. When it sounds like the average of everything, it is a rough draft at best and a liability at worst. The business brain doc, the BBD, we're calling it, is the difference. 20 minutes to build, 10, 15 minutes to refine, maybe once every 1 or 2 weeks. Every session you run after that starts with your reality instead of from zero. The fillable template is free in the description, so go check it out. All right, so it's a simple video. We're going to end it, not make this too long, but that's the idea. Make AI a lot more useful. And I'll tell you, from somebody who's hired probably 50 virtual assistants off and on over the past 15 years, not just from the Philippines, but that ended up being my number one. They will become super useful. AI will become super useful, but you have to put in a little bit of the work at the beginning, and don't just expect it to make your life easier from the bat without any context. And that is the main thing. People are just like, can it just do it? Can I just like, and you know what? Eventually it will get there to where it'll just know how to interview, ask you questions, and it'll know when to recommend changes, and it'll start to have better common sense and memory than we do. That's just around the corner. I give it, honestly, 6 to 12 months before we start to really see this come alive. So until the next video, let's get it.